How about now? I am Madam Onça, and this is my weekly tarot talk for Tower Times. I am the artist and co-author of the World Spirit Tarot, and I'm delighted to be here with you. So let's get talking. So what we do in this broadcast every week, I like to do a bit of educating because I believe strongly that it is important that people who want to have barrier-free access to information about tarot. It is an interesting window into history, into art, into the evolution of thought around equality, parity, how we approach the world. The tarot is an evolving set of icons. So it's a great way to consider how we might approach issues in our lives. It's also fun, beautiful, and a source of passion for many folks. So we like to do a bit of an educational component. I like to teach folks how to read cards and make it easy, make it accessible for you. Then we usually digress a bit, talk about technique, talk about how you might read the cards, extended methods for using the tarot in your life. Perhaps I'll do some ranting about something that is important to me and relevant to our tarot conversation. Then I like to open it up to the community. I'm happy to read cards for anybody who asks. Just pop it up in the chat. And I do give priority to folks who make a donation. My information is here on the screen because that's just fair. But I'm happy to read cards for anybody in the amount of time that we have. So again, if you're just joining me, I am Madam Onça, and this is Tarot Talk for Tower Times. I'd like to take a moment to do some housekeeping. I want to acknowledge my lovely operator this evening. That is Carmel Cleven over in the big pink chair.
Hi.
She will help to make it possible for me to be with you, authentically present, with your questions, with the readings, and just trying to be here with you while surrounded by screens and technology, and yet to be in the intuitive mode. So Carmel is essentially acting as the techno filter to allow me to be here. Hey, everybody. Hey, Groovy Girl. Oh my gosh. Hi, how are you? Hey, Zalani. Thanks so much, everybody, for showing up. You may also know that we have made the jump from doing this on Facebook and Twitch to being Twitch exclusive at the moment. So again, thanks for being here. I'm going to try to develop some alternative programming for my Facebook fans and friends as well. But over here on Nat 21 Adventures, these folks are good enough to let me come and play in their sandbox once a week. So here we are. You can see I've been working on my pandemic troll doll hair. So it's going to keep me entertained. It looks kind of crazy and green in these studio lights. How appropriate for lo, by some measure, it is St. Patrick's Day. What did you do for St. Patrick's Day? You know, got a little green in my hair. What did you do? Drank some green beer. You do you. I'm totally going to talk about St. Patrick's Day more later. If you have any questions or comments about anything, of course, throw it down, and my lovely operator will pop it up so I can see it. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Today, we are talking about the sixes, the number 6 in the cards. So if you're new to reading tarot cards, again, I want to reiterate, this is an evolving folk art. It's something that changes over time, and that is a good thing. If you are numerically inclined, if you're a mathy sort of person and you find some sort of clarity and empowerment in keeping track of the numbers, 6 is a great number for you to know about in the tarot. Again, I want to say that it took me years to ever really pay attention to the numbers, being a bit dysmathic myself. But 6s, what is the 6 in the cards? It is more stable than a table. If you've ever been at a table that has 4 legs, there's that. If you've ever been at a table that has 6 legs, it is not going anywhere. So when we come to the 6 in the tarot cards, it usually is speaking metaphorically about some aspect of your life or experience that is at a plateau. So it is not the be-all and end-all. It is a place of growth, maturity. It is all of your raw potential. You've now collided with some real-life challenges, and so this is an opportunity to put your wisdom into motion. So 6s are all about that. We're also going to talk about the individual suits. As you may know, there are 5 different kinds of cards in the tarot. and we are talking about all the minor arcana. Those are the ones that, in the fullness of time, led us to modern playing cards. So, in fact, we were joking around on the Nat 21 Creating with the Crew show earlier today about doing a poker game using tarot cards. You can totally do that. It's just a little slower because the iconography on the cards was not set up for that usage at this time. Ancient tarot cards, if you go back hundreds of years, actually would be quite a bit easier. But now we've gotten so excited about all this lush, opulent imagery and iconography and colors and themes and fandoms. It take a little bit of time. But so these are the major arcana, and they, again, are very much the close cousins of our modern playing cards. So we find ourselves moving through the 6. As I said, this is a place of plateau. If you remember last week, for those of you who were there, it was 5s, and the 5s are all extremely chaotic. When those cards come up, it suggests the things you think you used to know have been transformed by experience. It has been said, no battle plan survives first contact with the enemy. And that is really what the 5 is about. It is all the things that you learned authentically. Now the tables have been flipped. You know things you didn't know before. And the 6 is the result of that. So we're going to bring up our handy dandy card cam over here. And hopefully it is adequately illuminated. And here we go. I will hold the cards up for you as well. So we will start with the 6 of Wands. Wands, as you may recall, sometimes also called staves, bâton, and any number of other pokey sticky sort of things. The Wands is very much a card of accomplishment and I would say acclaim. You can see here in this image, if I get it situated properly, there's a figure holding a torch. They're very much coming down from the mountain. They are full of bright ideas, and the community has turned out to receive that information. This card is often also traditionally an image of a person riding on a horse. They're wearing like the sort of laurel wreath of the victor, surrounded by pennants. So this is pennants, meaning the flags, rather than penance, the quality of regret. There's no regret in this card. It is pure vim and vigor. So this card very much talks about, sorry, I'm wiggling. Don't be so expressive with your hands while you're holding something. Also, if you look for the close observer, there's a lady here in a very nice, up in the front, wearing a very nice shawl, holding a little tiny baby with a big round head. So that always cracks me up. So this card, it's about, again, wands, ambition, drive, passion, manifesting things, items on your bucket list. It's really about what you're going to do in the world. 5 suggests you have seen some action. You have come up against adversity. The 6 says you have used that competition, that conflict, those challenges we've talked about. And when this card comes up, it says, you have now learned, you are wiser, and people are ready to hear what you have to say. And so we're going to adjust these a little bit. You can't quite tell in this camera, but they're actually on a red piece of material tonight that's covered with little fancy cabochon things. And it's having some funny visual effects. So that's our wands. Woo, extreme close-up. Look, no hands. I'm not even doing it. Whoa, magic. The power of an operator. Now we're going to come to the 6 of Cups again. 6, it's about having weathered some life experience, being all the wiser. Cups being emotional, they are about relationship, not always romantic. It can be all the different kinds of relationship. They're about connectivity, how we experience our emotional selves, and how we experience that connection with others. So in this card, which I will again try to get close enough for you to see, let me know if I need to do this differently. Feel free to chime in the comments there. So this card is often known as Sanctuary, or the Sanctuary of the Familiar. You can see there are some folks here. They are very barefoot. The sort of garments are off the shoulder. There is wine and bread and fruit, and they are in a walled garden. Everything is sort of opulent. If you have ever lived in or been to Boulder, Colorado, you might recognize that those rocks in the back there are very much inspired by flat rocks, which are the big sort of once sacred stones, which are now very much a recreational hotspot in Boulder. This garden wall and this tower, as well as the general vibe of this, is directly from the Pamela Coleman Smith Rider-Waite deck, but I wanted to make it a bit more mature in theme. Her traditional image, as we will see in a little bit, has what is either a child and a little person, or perhaps two children, and it's a very sweet card. It's intended to express some nostalgia. I wanted to bring that element of sort of comfort and innocence to this card, but let it allow room for people of all ages to feel invited to the meaning. So this card comes up when it is time for you to revisit the comforting sanctuary of that which feeds you. Basically, go to your happy place, whether that is a connection with old friends, whether that is specific activities. It's very much about sort of the rebound in the best way, you might say. Now we come to swords. That's me. Now we come to swords, and swords are, of course, again, intellect. It's the suit of air. It's decision-making. It's boundaries. It is, as I like to say, it's generally the consequences of the decisions that we make. Most of the swords cards are quite taxing in their emotional, or not their emotional, are pretty taxing in their description. Like the swords are usually describing the trouble that we get into when we listen only to logic and do not consider all of the other sacred things that inform our lives. This card, however, is actually quite lovely. The Six of Swords traditionally was known as the journey by water, which is why when we look closer in a moment, you'll see it as a figure in a boat. It has come, as I mentioned, as the meanings of tarot cards have evolved over time through usage by thousands and thousands of people over hundreds and hundreds of years. They have changed. This card has come to mean journey of consciousness. So as I hold this card up, you're going to see there's a figure in a boat. The boat has the great big eye. It's sort of a crypto-Mediterranean boat. You know, it's from some culture somewhere, and people would paint eyes on the boats so that while you, the pilot of the craft, may not know exactly where you're going, the boat would always find its way. That was the hope in putting eyes on them. And so what this card is about is a journey of consciousness, meaning I lived through my ace 2, 3, 4, 5 of swords. I learned I no longer fit in these confines. I am wiser. I am weathered. I am ready for more, and I'm setting off for an uncertain shore. It is when you are ready to take an emotional and rational risk, moving away from the known because you understand that the shoe no longer fits. You will see also in this image that there are folks have turned out to help them. They appear to perhaps be sneaking away by night or at the dawn, and there's a sense of like maybe friends and family. So it's not a matter of breaking with everything you've ever known, but there is a sense of being supported, hopefully, as you go do the things that you must do. Oh, look at that. Well done. So you can see there. I will say this printing, this edition of these cards is rather dark, so that indigo sky is a little overwhelmingly dark. And for fans of the seaside, you will notice the authentic seagull shit on the pilings there. That tells you that I'm actually from a seaside town. And this particular boat is actually a dory, which were the tools of the Nova Scotian fishermen. So you can see the figure there. They're maybe handing goods down to our friend who is setting off in her red dress in her red boat to an uncertain shore because she just can't stay here anymore. She knows she needs to make the change. Now we're going to come over to our Six of Pentacles. Pentacles tend to represent practical things. The suit, it's things and stuff. It is the Maya, as the word has been used to describe the world of physical things. Health and wealth comes up around how well we're taking care of ourselves. I like to say, you know, it's gold coins and hit points. It's the currency that we have in order to make our lives functional. So the Six, this card is about having weathered difficulty. If you were with us last week, you may recall that we, in this card, there was some figures in the snow. It's very much a card of sort of privation and challenge and feeling like you're slipping through the cracks of the system. In this case, this card is about generosity. It is perhaps you have recovered and you are able to pay it forward as you were given a hand up. Perhaps you are still climbing your way up out of the challenges that the Five presented, and it is time to start looking for not a handout, but looking for potentiality, looking for opportunity, finding a new way to be. So this again is pretty traditional to the Rider-Waite version. You'll see there's a figure, they've got a scale, they've got pentacles, perhaps they're wearing all the opulent duds, they're deciding whether they have resources to spare. We've got some sort of artsy bohemian type and their dog waiting to see. So this is any artist ever waiting to find out if they got the grant. And I would like to say also that when I made this particular card, I was living in a very, sort of arts economy sort of town. It had a lot of street culture, a lot of gutter punks, a lot of musicians, all kinds. And I always think of this card as an homage to the person who said, "Hey man, can you spare $1 so I could buy my dog a bagel?" You can take that moment and either go, "No, get a job. What's wrong with you?" Or you can say, that's actually hilarious. By all means, here's $1. Go buy your dog, go buy your dog a bagel. So how you feel about this card depends a lot about where you have been in the great material continuum, as the Ferengi put it. So that's our sixes. You can see they sort of have a positive spin on everything that we've gone through last week in our experience with the fives. They are not a finishing place. They are not. You're not done, but you are you are at a place of pause. You are packing for your trip. You are considering your next step as far as making moves to reestablish security materially, financially, physically. You are taking a breath to put some kindness and sensitivity around your feelings after everything you perhaps went through in the Five of Cups. So take a moment, a little self-care. That Six of Wands, it's like you've learned something and you're ready to bring your message to the people. So there's a sense of, I'm going to say, rebooting, if you'll forgive that expression, here before we come to next week, which will be the sevens. Dun, dun, dun. If you get a lot of sixes in your reading, generally you can look at it and say, well, that tells me that I'm at a time of moving forward, having learned the pitfalls of the way. So the sixes are definitely your friends. So I think from there, I'm going to take a moment to ask if anybody has any questions. Oh, actually, you know what? Maybe don't eat ice with a lav mic. How about that? It's probably a little crunchy. Sorry. We're going to go back to the action cam because I have my lovely Gummy Bear Tarot, which is a charming, very traditional deck done child style. And I just want you to have an opportunity to look at the art and see some of the continuity that was described. And hopefully this process not only shows you something about, my deck and another deck, but it also shows you something about how, is that better? It shows you something about how artists, with there being certainly thousands of different tarot decks in the world at this point, how an artist can stay in the traditional canon, shall we say, of what the cards have and still let it evolve to suit the times. When I made my deck, I wanted to update the images and make them more inclusive. Somebody else might want to revision the entire thing to speak to, Norse folklore or to their passion for anime, or make space in your life for some hilariously charming gummy bears. So we can see here, there's the figure, with the surrounded by all of the banners, horses, laurels. Again, hopefully conveys that same feeling of like, I am a victor, I have survived. I survived the fray and I've come back with information. This one here, you see the folks in the garden. Again, that question in traditional decks around whether it is two children or the old texts say, a child and a dwarf. Although I think that now we say little people. There's a lot of question about what was even intended by that. And I was like, I think representation is important, but there's no clarity in the text around what we're going for here. So I'm just going to not make this about little kids. We're going to just move into a whole other area. And over here, we see, once again, there's this figure. This figure looks a little more bruised and battered as they're heading off on their journey. But they are, again, being supported in their travel. Here is the ferryman, as it were. And quite literally, we see the person with the scales and the mendicants. So you can see how this deck is traditional. And the old Gummy Bear deck, it's a charming standby. If folks are interested, this night or any other night, I also have another lovely deck here, but it would take me a little while to dig out the cards. This is a beautiful deck. I want to call some attention to the Light and Shadow Tarot. We've got a silent applause over here from our operator.
Woo!
Not so silent. So this is a beautiful deck. I'll just take a minute to talk about it. So this deck came out probably a year before my deck, and it came out, Destiny Books published it, which was sort of like a very swanky. I was like, ooh, look at you. I was so thrilled because the art is fantastic, but it is a block print deck. And I was like, oh no, I've been working all these years on this, and somebody has gone ahead and made a block print tarot. But of course, everything you've ever thought of was done before the pyramids were built, as my lovely friend Claire Demas says. So you can't attach too much to that. This deck is beautiful in that the creator grew up in the old world. He grew up in a matriarchal family in Germany, and the art really has this wonderful sort of old world feel. Some of the architecture and so forth is just fantastic. I'm going to try to find a few examples. Part of what I love about this deck is that I think all of the people cards have these incredible representations of animals. So they're just, if you like animals, but you don't want to go full wild unknown tarot because you still want some hominids in your deck, is this a great deck for you? Look at this Princess of Wands. Instead of standing next to the cheetah like she does in mine, she literally is one with it. Look how incredible and vibrant this art is. So yeah, and this deck is also very informed by Aleister Crowley's deck, which is the Book of Thoth. Look at this beautiful pelican. There's like images within images here. So it's very folky, has lots of animals, very inclusive and diverse in its people, has beautiful architecture, and has a very, very accessible book as well, Light and Shadow Tarot. So there's my pitch for these guys and their work. I can't say enough good things about that once I got over my initial shock of being like, oh no, somebody did the thing I was trying to do, but they did it better and first. I'm going to say they did it amazingly and different. Really a great, if you can find this deck anywhere. I don't even know if it's still in print, but it's good. Yeah, and the story of the artist himself is very interesting. So Light and Shadow Tarot, that's a great deck for doing readings. I will say it's really big. The cards are big, and I don't even know, if I were to do readings here, we probably would have to plan ahead and back the camera up because you could probably fit about 2 of those cards in here. So yeah, there's all that.
Number 6 major arcana.
Oh yeah, the number 6, the major arcana. Thank you for bringing that up. So, as you may know, if you've spent some time with the cards, there's the minor cards, there's the major cards. The major cards are also numbered 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, usually up to 21 if you're dealing with a traditional deck. So the numbers can be informative as well if you get a major card. In other words, you can get all these 6s. You can also get the 6 in the major cards. The 6 is usually the Lover's card. There is some heat and debate in various metaphysical systems because, again, the tarot has been evolving over its lifetime around the exact sequencing of the cards because people started fiddling with it to try to see if they could make it fit various astrological and Kabbalistic and folk systems. You do you. But in general, the 6th card is always going to be the Lover's card. And so in the Lover's card, we find ourselves, once again, there's this sense of, I want to say, an exploration of balance and stability. So that Lover's card, and while I'm here, I'll show you this beautiful, beautiful version. It's so Klimtian. Isn't that incredible? So that's the Light and Shadow Lover's card. It's another way to explore that notion of what the 6 can mean. You find balance, find a sort of plateau, take a moment to heal, reassess, reevaluate, reconnect, rejuvenate, and then move forward into the rest of the majors. Thank you for that excellent question. Okay, so we're getting to the part where I'm delighted to read cards for folks that want. If you're more of a chatty chat crowd, that's fine too, but it's fun for me to get to read cards for you. So you let me know. It is St. Patrick's Day, and I will use this moment to talk a little bit about him and his legacy. Like many young witchy type back in the day, I was like, yeah, drove the snakes out of Ireland, screw that guy. It's a metaphor for oppressing the pagans. I want to encourage you to look a little deeper as far as that goes. St. Patrick had a lot going on, and a lot of it was surprisingly affirming. I would go so far as to say that St. Patrick is one of those Christians who really strove to do it right. And so what really turned my mind about him, this is an old book now, I just looked up the date, and of course it's ancient. It's from 1995, How the Irish Saved Civilization. It is possible that some of the scholarship behind this book has also evolved in the ensuing years. Do that research too. But this is a great book about his life, of course, the Irish in general. If you'd like to be a little bit more informed about this whole business, some of the things I loved about him and learned about him in the course of reading this book, he was very, he did not come to conquer the people. He won over people because of his, honestly, because he was a wild and crazy wizard. He had a lot of personal integrity. He was an honest mystic, and the people were like, look at this guy. Does he seem legit to you? I think he seems legit to you. Let's actually listen to what he has to say. It wasn't a matter of you will be converted by the sword. He really was able to bring people to his perspective through debate and example, which is, at that point, people are making a choice instead of having it foisted upon them under threat. So that's very endearing. He also appears to have been very woman positive and very sex positive, which when you're thinking saints, that's not usually the case. And if you are aware of other scholarship, by all means, chime in and let me know. But what I think I know about him from these sources is that he was really like, look at you, amazing woman chieftain out there with your incredible, handsome self doing things. That's great. These are surprising words from Catholic saints, many of whom, of course, throve on not only, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, they tortured themselves because they were culturally raised, to despise the body and, because of original sin, women and everything that represented. So to find out that there was a venerable saint who was really like, look at you out there being awesome. That's great. That was a real shocker for me. That really, as an Irish person, that made me feel better about my heritage. Yeah, he had a lot going on, and he did not drive any snakes out. There's a whole thing in there also about whether any as well. So how the Irish saved civilization. St. Patrick, not so bad. Oh, also he wrote letters to the Pope at the time, telling the Pope that he was doing Christianity wrong because the Pope was clearly a manipulative, money-driven politician. And St. Patrick was like, you don't know who I am. I live in the woods, in a stone hut with a bunch of sheep, but I am writing you a letter to speak truth to power. So sheep fact, you're doing it wrong, Pope. And the fact that anyone was bold enough to call out the church at that time, I'm all for it. So, right? So, yeah. So St. Patrick, rather than just as Byron Ballard said today, rather than sharing a bunch of underinformed neo-pagan memes, consider actually doing some research. Through the haze of green beer, consider learning a little bit about it. Also, apparently, today is, I have heard, is the saint day of a female saint whose name I don't remember. I think it's Guinevere, but I could be wrong. She's the saint of cats. So why does she not have her whole own day? She should own the internet. Instead of it being boo snakes, we could have yay cats day. So, so there's that. All right. So if anybody wants some cards read, you let me know. I am going to start throwing them down. Hey, Reverend Tommy, how are you? And I want to thank everybody who is showing up for all of these sort of things. It is a pleasure to serve, and y'all are very patient with me as I learn to function as an analog girl in a 3-camera world. If you're a Nat 21 person, also you may appreciate the amount of tentacles and things that I had to push out of the way to even have room to sit here today. Literally, I'm surrounded by piles of tentacles and so forth. So, oh, good. Getting ready to do some art. Reverend Tommy, who's with us, is he's a master of slumping. He works with glass, and I'm just totally delighted and amused that slumping is an action word to describe the creation of art. And you know what? Before I do this, can you just hand me one of those? Is that inconvenient? I can grab it with my toe, maybe. So I have something I wanted to share with you. I swear it's tarot related. Thank you very much. I didn't want to duck out of the frame. Some nice person, I don't know who, perhaps it was one of y'all, sent some mail to me, and I thought, oh, this is that funeral planning paperwork that I've been waiting for weeks, because I want to try to get our whole family on a death positive footing, and take care of all that stuff. That is not what it was. Instead, some loving soul sent me these giant canvas panels. That is the moon card from the tarot. Somebody basically sent me the sun, moon, and stars. So whoever you were, if you're here now, thank you. Look at that. Isn't that great? Very thoughtful. Tell me who you are, and I'll send you some art back. So thank you. Okay, let us commence to pull some cards. So, in fact, I'm just going to pull some cards for the whole gang here. So tell me a little bit. Carmel suggests that we pull cards for all of the Irish, but
No, our Irish lineages.
for our that's surprisingly difficult to say. Our Irish lineages.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're into, this is where it gets super woo-woo, but tarot is an old art form and has been used by lots of people. There's actually a ton of spreads you can do about past lives and all kinds of things. Oh, there should have been a note. Oh, so you can actually read tarot cards, for your past self if you want to get into that. For all the Irish people before. Okay, so we're going to bring up the action cam maybe on the side here. I generally get some shuffle going here. Then we do the traditional 3-card. If I'm able, if the time allows, like if I'm doing for myself, I'll usually do that 3 times. Right, that's right. So we're gonna. Right. Every reader has different ways to go about this part. Some people very ostentatiously go or put it in their hand and wave their wand around and chant. Some people just just keep talking while they're shuffling. There is no right or wrong way. But I generally, I do try to arrive physically in my body, and the notion of being in service, not just being a, talking head and entertainer. And I'm going to just pull a few cards. As some of you may know, my partner and our housemate is going to be headed out on the road soon into the world full of COVID. So I'm going to pull a few cards about that.
Great. I did not consent to this.
Consent is important, but these cards are not about her. So I'm generally feeling for, cards that call out. Sometimes it's literally just the card that you knock out by accident, is the one that wants to be heard. I will say it's easier reading cards for you. I generally have a hard time reading cards for myself, and there's a vulnerability in reading cards for my family here, but I wanted to keep it real. Oh, thank God. So these are cards we don't mind seeing. Sometimes you get a load full of cards that have a lot to say. So the nature of my inquiry was, again, my partner is headed to Texas to work and then possibly to Tennessee for that. They may not be home for 2 months. So it's a big change after a whole month of being home, or a whole year of being home, as a pod, as it were. And, again, there's a lot of risk. He's generally pretty hale and hearty and well-adjusted, but, still, the world is full of crazy people. I will point out, as you may be noticing, if you're a student of the cards, the first thing to notice is these are all cups. So these are all really about like how we feel, more than, about the kinds of decisions anyone is making or anything at this time. Again, the overall vibe is very positive, I want to say. And yeah, cups are juicy, juicy, juicy all the time. So here we have our Ace of Cups. That is very much about new beginnings, new starts. And that certainly is accurate. Because not only is my partner headed to Texas to work, so there's all of this sort of COVID uncertainty. A lot of the fairs that he normally works at have been closed for a long time. So there's a whole question of not only how it will be for him, but really how our whole culture and our whole economy will be rebooting, as it were, during this time. So this sort of juicy Ace of Cups, also Ace of Cups really are about how we feel. And that suggests, the vibe of this suggests to me that while it is challenging to have him go and be away and sort of be dividing the party, as some of us are over here trying to do our work and he'll be over there trying to do his work, overall, new project, feels auspicious. I don't know if you want to bring up both cams since I'm going to talk for a while. I find that I keep looking at the camera as if you could see me. Meanwhile, I could not know you were there and I would just be, So we've got that Ace of Cups. That speaks to auspicious beginnings. Literally coming through the gate. We've got the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is about emotional fulfillment and plenty. You can see here there's this figure. They literally have the bluebird of happiness is with them. And again, opulence of dress in this context suggests, suggests solvency or security. It's not having to worry about that sort of thing. And then we've got the Seeker of Cups. This is the Knight. And he, as you can see, he's gazing raptured up at his cup. This is very much a card of going out to see how it goes. Carmel jokingly calls this the to-go cup guy because it can be a card of sort of running from one shiny thing to another. Like, how about this? How about this? How about this? So it would make sense that in the context of like being out in the world, trying to figure out what is safe, what is sustainable. Can you juggle with somebody? Can you eat dinner with somebody? Can you practice a whip with somebody? I was just joking like this. There's one activity you can do because you'll be 6 feet away. Like, what is it safe to do? How is it safe to proceed? What is emotionally fulfilling after, we extroverts have been bottled up for such a long time? So the overall feeling here to me is very much of, it's auspicious. It harbinges big starts. And I was really just asking how the first couple weeks of the trip would go. So let's hope that these cards are accurate because I like them very much. We would be having a different kind of diplomatic conversation if these cards were shit, danger, heartbreak, risk. Sometimes you get those readings and you have to be prepared to navigate them. But is there anybody that wants me to read their cards for them tonight? I don't mind, rolling it up early if that's the case, but I know you probably don't want to sit and watch me do readings for myself and my own the whole time. One of the things that we can do, I like to talk to you about different ways of reading the cards. Incidentally, most spreadcraft, as it is called, most of the ways that we do read cards, really, however you want to organize them on the page, they come down to, are you making lines? Are you making rows? Are you making arcs? There's lots of different ways that you can lay them out. Johnny O'Twitch. Well, hello. Let me read cards for you. So Read me, read me. Read me mucho. So, what I would like you to do, my friend, take a big breath in. If we were together, I would hand you the cards and ask you to hold your question in your mind, shuffle the cards a little bit. You want to get your reading into it so you don't just get, the last cards. Take a big breath in. Great. Volunteer. And then I'm going to divide the cards. Boop, boop. I'm going to grab that card that bounced. Set that aside. So when you get a card like that, literally it's called a jumper or a volunteer. It's the card that's like, I don't fit into the construct of your spread, but I just have something to say. So it's always good to pay attention to those. I'm going to spread these out. I'm going to pull these cards for you. Ooh, they're getting warm and fuzzy. You're all trying to jump now. You have a lot going on. That's all right. None. Give me one more. There we go. Okie dokie. Oh, look at you. Living life large. Okay. So what we have here, my friend, oops, sorry, they're slightly off the screen. I'll move them up a little bit. So again, there's different kinds of cards. They all speak to different arenas of our lives, we might say. And whenever we get a bunch of cards, the first thing you look for is to see if there is a preponderance of type, which there are. You have one wand, so that's going to be your drive and ambition, that sort of thing. You've got one sword, decisions, intellect, communication, and then you've got two major cards. So those major cards suggest some big life, I don't want to say issues, but like big forces moving through your life. And these are good cards. So we find ourselves with, we'll start with the world. It's in the middle. In some of my decks, this is actually known as the universe, because of course, as our understanding of things get bigger, my description needed to get bigger. So the universe, this is a great card. It usually suggests that you're coming to the end of you're coming to a resolution of a time period in your life, of a project. She's very much sort of dancing at the end, dancing on the roof of her accomplishments, as it were. So when this comes up, it suggests completion, closure, celebration, and preparing to do the next big thing. So she's a great card. We're going to step over and talk to her friend, the Hanged Man here. I'll hold him up a little closer so you can see him. Perhaps you can see him just fine. I don't know. There he is. Whoop. This is a card that has several different sets of meaning, I want to say. The Hangman comes up, we saw it on this show last week, for somebody who'd been sort of literally held up. They were in suspension, waiting for some social drama and challenges to settle down. So this card can come up either when we are literally all hung up, we are waiting for more information, waiting to be able to take action, waiting to literally sort of get down from the situation we're in. In this position, however, you do tend to have a fresh new perspective. So the card has that to offer on top of just the general hang in there. It also often speaks to the short-term compromises or short-term choosing to invest in struggle for long-term payoff. This is literally a picture of the god choosing in a vision quest format. They are hanging over the pool, trying to discover language, discover runes in order to bring this incredible intellectual gift to humanity, right? So they went through this vision quest in order to accomplish a shamanic or deific goal in order to make lives better for us. So it was a short-term sacrifice for long-term benefit. Other things that might fit that are like, going to graduate school in order to invest in the big picture. In the short term, it's going to be an expensive, compromising pain in the butt. In the long term, it may help you meet your goals. Parenthood is one big, long hanged man experience. It is a lot of prioritizing other people's needs as part of the bigger picture arc of the perpetuation of our kind. So the hangman comes up when you're dealing with either being kind of stuck and waiting, but hopefully getting some new perspective, or you already know what you're in it for, and you are choosing that as part of a long walk, an incredibly long-term type of person. Well, the hangman is a good guy for you. Also the universe, because she is, she's the end of all the things. The Fool is the first major card. That is 0, and we go through all of the adventures and journeys all the way to 21, which is her. So she is the culminating card. She is the thing that happens when you are wrapping it all up and getting ready to move to the next thing. Now we're going to talk about our friend here, the Sibyl of Wands. We just saw her in that other black and white card I showed you with the cat face, like that was in that same family of cards. So she is like the queen. You can see her on her throne with her cat Snuffles. True fact. And this card comes up again. Ambition, drive. She basically comes up to say, leadership is a thing you can do. Accomplishment, you can eat accomplishment for breakfast. She can be blindingly bright because of her singular focus, and it's a good thing to be aware of how that may affect the people around you in terms of inspiring or intimidating them. But essentially, she's a really great harbinger for folks who are here to kick butt and take names. And the card that really wanted to jump in was this card of new beginnings. So it's interesting. You've got this clear lemniscate shape. There's a sort of yoni shape that speaks of the gateway that is suggesting closure of a time period. And then this card that volunteered over here has the same shape. And this is about new prospects, new adventures, and particularly fresh decisions. So this card suggests you got something big coming up the pike in terms of choices you get to make, ideas you get to bring into reality, words you get to say in order to express your big picture. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah, those are some interesting cards too. And that notice that there's that, because we see the similarity in the patterns, those little things, they matter in tarot. I mean, it's a metaphorical language, right? We're not talking about being fact driven here. We're talking about being able to speak in understanding things sort of using the language of dreams, as it were. And so things like that totally matter. Great. I hope that helps you. Thanks for being here for it. Anybody else? How we doing? All righty. And how are we doing on time, operator? Oh, great. Well, we're well within the parameter. Let me know if there's anybody else that would like our reading today. Just, for love, for funsies, whatever. Or if you have any questions about cards and so forth, there's no end of things I can say. I just want to make sure that I am saying the things. Oh, Zalani. 30 years? All right. I think you probably do. Like 30 years is a good run. So once again, for you, yes, thank you, Johnny. And so for you, Zalani, again, if you will take a breath, like I'm knocking my table around. I'm surrounded by tiny D&D tables. Those of you that will be seeing Paulo as he is performing in Texas, you will see these tables because, in fact, look, these are his like knife throwing prop tables and everything. We're realizing that those of us that will still be here will need to, we have to decide who gets which whips, who gets which tables, who gets which cameras. We've built this whole sort of life for ourselves as far as shared resources go, and now we have to make some plans. This means in a few weeks you're going to see we're going to be running everything out of Carmel's bedroom. Just going to do all the shows up in the egg in the stripy bed. Okay, Zalani, sorry, I got distracted. Take a big breath in. I thank you so much for being here and for being brave. Oh, yeah. How about that one? If we were together, I would let you slide your hand over these and pick out your own cards. But instead it's mage hand, isn't that it? The spell you get to like control things with a but you get to use my hand. Was that a euphemism? Which thing? I'm chock full of euphemisms. Okay, so here we find, oh, what's the first thing we look for, Zilani? A preponderance of anythings. So you've got a preponderance of pentacles. Pentacles, again, are gold coins and hit points. They are practical units of measurement. So these are, interestingly, you got 2 people cards as well. So the first thing that suggests to me is that you may have multiple, this may literally be about people in your life that are part of the conversation, part of this topic. So it may be, you and a partner, you and a coworker, maybe 2 people in your family. Can just always be 2 aspects of yourself as well. But I think it's interesting that they're sort of facing in different directions as well. Like she's very preoccupied with her queenly duties facing this way. He's busy, moving off in his own direction. So it suggests to me that perhaps there's more than one person involved in this answer. It's all very harmonious and awesome, but and you can see, because they're both pentacles, it's very earthy, sort of verdant, hearthy. He's surrounded by pumpkins, all that good stuff. So it has been suggested, interestingly, that this pentacle makes it sort of look like her throne is also one of those like wheelchairs, so she can be like, I'm very rooted, but I can get places. I'm also very mobile, which is awesome. Like, that was not my intention, but I'll take it because that's really cool. In fact, I believe that Mab has one of these. It's like a wicker, like an old-fashioned wicker wheelchair in her home. It's like an awesome old artifact. It's really cool. It's very much a Queen of Pentacles kind of throne. So we find here the Queen of Pentacles, the Sibyl of Pentacles. What is the Sibyl? The Sibyl is the person who is bringing through useful and authentic information. She has deep wells of knowing. She is practical. She is pragmatic. She is nurturing. She is smart about the husbandry of resources. She has a compelling personality. She has leadership capacity. She tends to be hyper-focused on her thing. At best, she is capable, magnanimous, and enormously productive in her area. The limitation of the Pentacles personalities can be a bit obstinate, a bit slow to pivot when there's new information. But in general, she's like, I know what I'm here to do, and I am going to dig in. I'm going to make the best garden, the best business, the best health regimen. We're going to have the best nest. You name it, she is dug in with all of her superpowers. This guy is still learning some of that. He has that knightly questing quality. He's like, I want to learn all the things. I want to be practical. I want to be task driven. I want to be studious and devoted, but I may need to go experience things to do it. So while she is dug in with the big picture, he is sort of moving off, mastering things one at a time. So he speaks to that same tendency, but in a bit more of a student mode, you might say, literally studious. And then over here, to balance out all of this intense pentacle quality, this earthy energy, we see our Two of Wands. The Two of Wands is very much a card of reading the room. So again, wands are ambition, fire, and drive. This is the beginning steps of getting something going. So he is feeling his way around. He is taking the measurements before, cutting the carpet. Like, he is really doing the work to make sure that the big, long, big, deep, earthy plans that are being made and committed to, that all of the, I always think of him as the due diligence guy. Like, he got all the paperwork in order. He figured out which side the sun comes up on. He's the scientist. who is bringing observation of the real world and the natural world to the big plans. So I'm not sure where exactly this is going for you, Zolani, but these cards are beautiful and they speak to a tremendous amount of like a productive growth curve with a lot of sort of personal power and sovereignty for you. So those are great cards to get after a 30-year break, if you want to put it that way. Thank you. So I hope that that helps. Great. All right. Anybody else? We've got about 4 minutes left. Usually if I say I'm almost done, oh, look at that. So I'm pulling together a streaming brand of paint minis. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All new to you. Very productive. If you look close, I'm sure you'd find that one of them is holding a tiny paintbrush. That's great. Or maybe the wands guy had 2 very large paintbrushes. Or he is the mini. I usually find that if I say I'm about out of time, that's when people say, wait, I meant to ask. So speak now or hold your peace until next week. Well, I want to thank Nat 21 Adventures again for letting me use their channel and furniture, cameras, and also to the Glamour Hobo for helping to run the back end to make sure that this is all as smooth as it can be. I want to thank all y'all so much. I appreciate you. I am going to be, what else can I tell you that's practical? So next week we'll be doing 7s, so tune in if you want to learn some more stuff about the tarot. I have a whole new batch of my deck coming in. It's not technically a new edition. It is a much improved version of the original edition. The next one is still a work in progress, but that's a big deal. So if you're interested if you want tarot cards, boy, have I got 1,000 tarot decks coming for you. So by all means, be in touch with me about that. I am going to start teaching some. Oh yeah, I'm about to also go back into doing some more workshop style teaching, which I did a lot of during the pandemic. So if anybody's interested in actually digging into a real workshop where we can interact more directly, I'm happy to do this with you. But if you want to like actually sit down in a Zoom room full of people and like really dig in, I am delighted to do that. I revel in that. I saw that Reverend Tommy made a comment, but I didn't catch it because I was talking. As we wrap up, for those interested, we can raid another of the Nat 21 family. Oh, yes, absolutely. So when we're done here, if you want to jump in on a raid with Reverend Tommy, it's good for everybody. It's good for our other Nat 21 folks and good for everybody else in our Twitch community as well. Thanks, y'all, so much for being here. Enjoy what remains of your St. Patrick's Day. Consider learning a little bit about that guy and what he did that was so cool. And I look forward to seeing everybody, down the road. Thanks so much. Good night.